Okay, picture this. It is 2 in the morning. You are standing in your own backyard, wrapped in about 3 layers of heavy wool, and you are holding a steaming mug of something very hot.
Right.
You look up, and the sky is doing things that physics says shouldn't be possible. Ribbons of neon green and violet dancing right over your roof.
The Aurora Borealis.
The Aurora Borealis just doing its thing on a Tuesday.
It is the classic bucket list image. It's romantic, it's adventurous, and it is exactly how the tourism board gets people to book a flight. It's the visual hook.
Exactly. It's the adventure hook. But for this deep dive, I want to shatter that snow globe a little bit.
Okay.
We aren't looking at a travel brochure today. We're looking at a bank statement. Because if we look at the reality of 2026, heading north, specifically to the Northwest Territories, isn't just about scenery.
No, it's about a very specific, high-stakes financial trade-off.
That is the perfect way to frame it.
We are digging into the Northwest Territories Nominee Program, or NTNP, but really, we are analyzing the broader economic reality of life north of 60.
And the question isn't, is it pretty?
No, the question is, are the highest wages in Canada worth paying the highest cost of living and dealing with some of the most hostile elements on the planet?
We're calling this the Northern Gamble. So lay the groundwork for us here. When we say north, people think cold.
Yeah.
But give us the scale. How big are we talking?
The scale is, well, it's hard to comprehend until you see it on a map. The Northwest Territories, or NWT, is massive.
How massive?
It is larger than France, Spain, and Portugal combined. It covers over 1 million square kilometers.
Right.
But here is the kicker. It is a federal territory, not a province.
And that's a crucial distinction.
The huge distinction for how it gets funded and, how it is governed.
And inside that massive landmass, you have a population of what?
Roughly 45,000 people.
45,000, that is nothing. That is the size of a single neighborhood in Toronto.
Exactly. Spread over an area the size of Western Europe. So you have this massive vacancy. And that drives the first big point of our deep dive, the economic proposition. Why on earth would you pack up your life and move to the subarctic?
I assume the answer is money. But is it just good wages, or is it something more structural?
It's supply and demand in its rawest form. Because the population is so small and the conditions are so tough, employers are absolutely desperate for skilled talent.
And not just for niche jobs, I'm guessing.
No, not at all. We are talking about healthcare, education, service industries, government administration. They just cannot find enough bodies locally.
So it's a workers' market.
Completely. And when desperation goes up, the price of labor goes up. The minimum wage sits at $16.95 an hour, which is a solid floor, but that's almost irrelevant for the people we're talking about.
Because they're looking for careers.
Exactly. The real story here is the incentives. This is where we get into what I call the golden handcuffs of the North.
I saw this in the notes, and I need you to break it down. The Northern Living Allowance. This sounds like a perk, but is it meaningful cash or just a token gesture?
It is substantial. Think of it as a localized top-up. Employers know that heating a home at -40 costs a fortune. They know a flight to Edmonton for a dentist appointment costs a fortune.
So they just bake it in.
They bake it in. Most professional contracts include this allowance. It is effectively extra income added to your paycheck specifically because of your zip code.
Okay, so you get a salary bump just for existing there. That's unique.
It is, but wait, there's more. There's the tax situation. I feel like this is the part people miss when they just look at the salary number.
Right. Usually you make more money and the tax man takes more money.
Not here. First, there is no provincial sales tax. You only pay the 5% federal GST.
Okay. That's a nice little bonus right there.
It is. So your purchasing power on a new truck or a computer is instantly stronger than in Ontario or BC, where you might be paying 13% or 15% tax. But the big one is the Northern Residence Deduction.
This is a federal tax break, right? Not just a local thing.
Correct. The CRA, the Canadian Revenue Agency, basically says, thank you for occupying the North.
Huh.
I mean, that's the subtext. If you live in a prescribed northern zone, which is the entire NWT for at least 6 continuous months, you get a significant deduction from your taxable income.
How much are we talking? Lunch money or a down payment?
It depends on the zone, but for the NWT, it can result in a tax refund of several $1,000s a year. It essentially lowers your effective tax rate.
So let's stack this up.
Let's.
You have high base wages because of labor shortage, a top-up allowance from your boss, no provincial sales tax, and a massive tax deduction from the feds.
On paper, this looks like a gold mine.
It sounds like you could work there for 3 years and buy a house in the South with cash.
That is the northern dream, and the sources say it is possible. They use the phrase aggressive saving. If you are disciplined, you can accumulate wealth significantly faster than in the South.
Live.
But, and here's the giant asterisk, it depends entirely on your lifestyle discipline.
Because you earn more, but you might burn more.
You will burn more. The question is how much. And that depends on where you plant your flag. The NWT isn't a monolith. Right.
The experience in the capital is totally different from the experience in the high Arctic.
Let's walk through the map then. If I'm a listener thinking about this, where am I actually living? Let's start with the big city, Yellowknife.
Yellowknife is fascinating. They call it the Diamond Capital. It hosts nearly half the territory's population, about 20,000 people.
I've seen photos that look surprisingly modern. High-rises, paved roads, traffic lights.
It defies expectations. It is a modern city floating in the wilderness. The economy is driven by 3 pillars: diamond mining, the Diavik and Ikati Mines government, and tourism.
So if I'm an accountant or a nurse or a teacher, Yellowknife is probably the hub.
It's the most likely spot. And socially, it's vibrant, it's surprisingly cosmopolitan. You have craft breweries, music festivals.
I read about the Houseboat Bay community.
Yeah, people living on Great Slave Lake year-round, completely off-grid, but right next to downtown. It's wild.
That sounds incredible. A little bohemian, a little rugged. But here comes the reality check. What's the rent? Toronto prices. Maybe worse. You are looking at about $2,200 for a one-bedroom apartment.
Ouch.
And the housing stock is older. You aren't getting a gleaming glass condo for that price. You're getting a 1970s apartment block that needs serious heating.
And the northern allowance in Yellowknife, how much is that?
It's the lowest in the territory because it's the most accessible. It averages around $3,700 a year.
So $300 a month? That barely covers the difference in rent compared to a cheaper city.
Exactly. In Yellowknife, the allowance is nice, but the cost of housing just eats it alive. You go there for the lifestyle and the amenities, not for the rawest savings potential.
Okay, so let's look for a better deal. Let's move south a bit to Hay River. They call it the hub.
Hay River has a totally different value proposition. It sits on the southern shore of Great Slave Lake. It is the transportation center rail and barges.
The gateway to the north.
That's the one. Everything that goes further north usually passes through here.
And crucially, looking at the map, it has a road that connects to the rest of Canada.
A reliable, year-round road that connects directly to Alberta. That is the game changer.
Because it feels less isolated.
It feels less isolated.
Yeah.
And because goods can come in by truck without relying on ice roads or planes, the cost of living is lower. Rents dip down to around $1,500.
That's a huge difference. And the allowance?
A bit higher, around $5,600 a year, so you're paying less rent and getting more bonus cash.
That sounds like the pragmatic choice. If you want to save money but not feel like you're on Mars, you go to Hay River.
It is the sensible middle ground. But if you want the extreme financial gain, the kind that lets you retire early, you have to go further north.
Above the Arctic Circle.
Way above. You have to go to Inuvik.
Let's go to Inuvik.
Inuvik. This is the end of the road, literally. It is the administrative center for the Beaufort Delta region. It is truly Arctic.
And looking at the data here, the financial spike is wild. The northern allowance jumps from $3,700 in Yellowknife to over $14,000 a year in Inuvik.
Over $14,700 to be precise. And if you go to Norman Wells, which is an oil and gas town, it's nearly $21,000 a year just in allowance.
That is a second salary.
Yeah.
That is a minimum wage job in some places, just handed to you for showing up.
It has to be, because in Inuvik, the economics of existence just break down. We have to talk about the Apple Index.
The Apple Index? What's that?
A bag of apples in Inuvik can cost $15.
Wait, pause. $15 for apples. That's not a typo.
No typo. Think about how those apples get there. If the ice road is closed or the barge season is over, that fruit is flying in on a jet.
You're paying for its plane ticket.
You're paying for its plane ticket. So the $14,000 allowance, that isn't fun money. That's Apple money.
So if you insist on eating like you live in Vancouver, fresh berries, avocados, steak every night, that $14,000 vanishes instantly.
Instantly. The gamble works only if you adapt your consumption.
So that leads us to the lifestyle challenges. We've talked about the wallet,
Yeah.
but we need to talk about the mind and body. Because you could have $1 million in the bank, but if you're miserable, what's the point?
The north takes a toll. And the biggest factor isn't the cold. Everyone thinks it's the cold. It's the light.
The polar night.
This is something you cannot really understand until your biological clock crashes into it.
Mm.
In Yellowknife, in December, the sun rises at 10:80 BUT AM and sets at 3 BUT PM.
5 hours of daylight.
Yeah, and it's weak light. You go to work in the dark, you come home in the dark, you exist in twilight.
And in Nunavik.
In Inuvik, the sun does not rise at all for 30 days.
30 days of night. That sounds psychologically heavy.
It is heavy. The sources are very clear on this. You cannot tough it out. Vitamin D supplements are mandatory. And sad lamps, those light therapy boxes that mimic the sun, they aren't interior design choices.
They're medical equipment.
They're medical equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Seasonal affective disorder is a genuine occupational hazard up there.
I can just imagine the disorientation.
Yeah.
You wake up, it's dark. You eat lunch, it's twilight. You eat dinner, it's dark again.
It's like an endless midnight shift. And then conversely, in the summer, you have the midnight sun, 24 hours of daylight.
Which sounds fun at first.
Until you try to sleep at 2 a.m. and the sun is blasting through your window. You need tinfoil on the windows, blackout curtains. Your circadian rhythm is under constant assault.
Okay, let's talk about the cold, though. We can't ignore it. The notes say average winter temps are -26 to -28 Celsius.
That is the average. That includes the warm days. It regularly hits -40.
And -40 is that magic number where Celsius and Fahrenheit meet.
Right. It is also the point where exposed skin freezes in minutes.
And this brings up the gear tax. You can't just wear your hoodie.
No. A Canada Goose parka or something equivalent, usually down-filled fur hood, is a safety requirement.
Right.
We're talking about a coat that costs $1,000, $1,500.
Plus boots.
Plus boots, rated to -50, plus mittens, not gloves.
Why mittens, I've always wondered.
Mittens keep your fingers together, sharing heat. Gloves isolate fingers, which leads to frostbite faster. It's a survival detail, but an important one.
So you have to budget $2 or $3 grand just to leave the house safely. That's your first paycheck on.
Pretty much. You cannot cheap out on this. If your car breaks down on the highway to Hay River and you are wearing a denim jacket, you are in life-threatening trouble.
We mentioned the $15 apples, but talk to me about the broader food strategy. How do people actually survive the grocery prices?
They adapt. This is the fascinating cultural shift. You change your diet, you buy bulk dry goods, rice, beans, pasta. You rely heavily on frozen vegetables.
Because they're cheaper and don't rot.
Exactly. Your whole pantry just looks different. And if you are lucky and you integrate well into the community, you rely on country food.
Define country food.
Local fish and game.
Oh.
Caribou, moose, lake trout, muskox. This is huge in the indigenous communities, but non-indigenous residents participate too.
So if you can hunt or fish.
Or if you're invited to share in the harvest, you can bypass the grocery store markup almost entirely for your protein.
So learning to fish isn't just a hobby there, it's an economic strategy.
It connects you to the land, keeps you sane, and saves your bank account. It is the ultimate northern hack.
Okay, let's say I'm sold. I'm adventurous, I'm broke, and I want that northern allowance. How do I actually move?
This is the most critical part of this entire deep dive. If you zone out now, wake up. The golden rule is, do not move without a job.
Don't just show up with a suitcase and a dream.
Never. The cost of living is too high to survive while looking for work. You will burn through your savings in a month. You need to use the employer-driven stream.
Which is part of the nominee program.
Exactly. The NTNP is largely designed around the employer. They offer you the job, and that offer is your ticket to the work permit. You secure the paperwork before you get on the plane.
They want you, but they want you employed.
Employed from day one. And what about housing? I noticed a warning in the deeper notes about availability.
Yeah, this is a major bottleneck. In Yellowknife, vacancy is near zero. In communities like Inuvik or Norman Wells, private rental markets barely exist. You can't just browse Craigslist.
So where do you live?
Staff housing. You have to negotiate this with your employer. When you get that job offer, your first question shouldn't be about vacation time. It should be, does this job come with a unit?
That is a wild negotiation. I'll take the job, but only if you give me a house.
In the North, it is standard practice, especially for teachers and nurses. If the job doesn't come with housing, you might literally have nowhere to sleep.
Now, there was a specific note for French speakers.
Yes, the Francophone stream. The NWT has a specific need for French speakers. If you have a job offer and your French is at a certain level, NCLC 5+ Frent, which is basically intermediate, it can be a faster path to permanent residence.
Why the specific focus on French?
Well, Canada is bilingual, and federal and territorial services need to be offered in French. But finding bilingual staff willing to move to the Arctic is tough.
So they roll out the red carpet.
It is a streamlined process.
One more logistical thing, healthcare. I know in some provinces there's a 3-month waiting period before the government pays for your doctor visits.
Not in the NWT, and this is a huge plus.
No waiting period.
None. If you are on a work permit of 12 months or more,
Yeah.
NWT healthcare covers you immediately.
That is a really reassuring safety net.
It signals that they want you there. They know the environment is harsh. They know accidents happen. They are removing the barriers to entry because they need the people so badly.
So let's zoom out. We have looked at the numbers, the map, the darkness, and the logistics. It feels like a distinct choice.
It's not just moving for a job. It's a lifestyle overhaul.
It is a polarizing choice,
Yeah.
right? You're choosing adventure, high wages, and the chance to see the northern lights from your porch. But you are paying for it with isolation, extreme cold, and a lack of convenience.
That's not for everyone.
It's definitely not. But the sources all point to one thing. The people who succeed are the ones who embrace the weirdness of it.
What do you mean by that?
You can't just sit in your apartment counting your money and waiting for the sun to come up. You will go crazy.
Right.
Northerners survive the winter by getting together.
The notes mention joining the curling club.
Or the hockey league, or the community garden, or the choir. Even if you hate curling, you join to survive the quiet. That social cohesion is the glue that holds these towns together.
In a big city, you can be anonymous.
In the north, you need your neighbors because they're the ones pulling your car out of the ditch at -40.
I love that. The idea that to survive the cold, you have to warm up to your neighbors. It forces community.
Precisely. And there's one other element to that, which is the diversity. Because so many people are there for work, you meet people from all over the world in these tiny frozen towns. It creates this very unique, tight-knit melting pot.
So you're not just surviving, you're potentially thriving socially in a way you wouldn't in a disconnected big city.
That's the argument. If you lean in, it's incredibly rewarding. If you resist it, it's a prison.
Before we wrap up, give us something to think about. We have covered the facts, but what is the deeper layer here? Why does this matter to someone who might never actually go?
I think this raises a fascinating question about the future of work. We live in a world of remote work, digital nomads, and Zoom calls. We are told we can work from anywhere. That place doesn't matter anymore.
Right, the death of distance.
Exactly. But the Northwest Territories is making a counter-argument. They are saying, no, we need you here, physically here. They are paying a premium for physical presence.
In a digital world, flesh and blood is becoming the most expensive asset.
That's it. Is there a unique, untapped value in going to the one place where showing up is still the most valuable thing you can do? It challenges the whole work-from-home narrative. The ultimate gig economy might actually just be going to work in the Arctic.
That is a fascinating way to look at it. You are trading convenience for relevance. You are going where you are actually needed, not just where the Wi-Fi is good.
And getting paid a premium for it.
Well, to our listeners, whether you are packing your parka or just turning up the thermostat a few degrees, thanks for diving deep with us. It's a cold world out there, but the opportunities are heating up.
It's like,
We'll see you in the next Deep Dive.